Greetings and welcome back to another episode of Cedar Circle, where I'm rebuilding my childhood home and experiences in Minecraft and sharing them with you. Now, the one I'm going to talk about today is the story of Old Man River. Now, Old Man River is a fictional story that kind of grew up out of me trying to act like the big brave kid in the neighborhood and scaring my younger sister and my friend Jeff. So we used to take this trail to and from our house and cross this creek here on whatever wooden boards somebody happened to put in place that day. Oftentimes there were no wooden boards, and oftentimes even if there was a wooden board, I would tell my friends to cross and I would try to jump the creek. And if you didn't jump the creek, you would land in this mud and sink up to your ankles. And sometimes people would take the boards. I never understood that. The boards would just be gone one day, and not everybody could jump as far as me. I was pretty super athletic. Now, there was something here. We'll cover that in another episode. But you can see I've made the biome here a dark green. And this is where I'm going to recreate Old Man River. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to make sure that this slope of this hill is appropriate to my memory. And it's kind of hard to do when you've got a 1 meter block that basically governs everything that you're doing. I think this is pretty close, but the top layer needs to be back like one more block. Okay, so it's okay here, and then here it should start to widen out just a little bit. I'm going to take out some of these, and then right about here it can be close again, and then right about here it needs to widen, and I'm basing it off of some stuff that I know is here that is not in this build yet. And then this is fine. Actually, I need to do it from down here so I can really see it. And then this section here is fine. Okay. So next thing I need to do is I need to put in some trees. So I'm putting oak trees up here on the top. About to there. And then on the bottom, I'm going to put acacia trees. And now I'm hoping that they're going to arc out in this direction over the water. That should be enough, I think. In fact, that's too close, this one. And let's take a look. Game rule, random tick speed 9,000. And boom. All right, so I didn't quite, this one's good. That's out over the water. This one's going the wrong way, so we're going to destroy this one. And because I've got the random tick speed on, it's going to take out the leaves very quickly. Well, this one just wants to go in that direction, doesn't he? I believe this is random and not position based, so it should just take me a couple of tries. There we go. Yeah, that's a good one, except okay, not quite going to work for me because we need to do this. Take that and then put this out here. And it went the wrong direction again. So we're going to do a little trial and error on this one until we get one that comes. There we go. Perfect. And we'll replace that. And let's see. That's probably too close to the oak trees now that I see it. We'll go ahead and leave the foliage. This is too much. Now, I'm not working off of a precise memory. I'm actually kind of working off my memory of which parts were darker in the green shadow and where it became lighter from running along this path here. And there were a couple spots where there was actually a tree right around here that was damaged by age and or a storm. Why are you always going that direction? What if I do this? Does that help? No, it doesn't. And the tree itself was damaged. And actually arced out across the river. And it was really just like a single branch, or not the river, but across the creek. I used to always call it the creek. Go playing in the creek, and our parents didn't like us playing in the creek, which, as a parent myself, I don't really blame them. Actually, well, no, that was right. In my memory, it didn't actually touch the other side. It was like, it was thinner branches, but of course I don't have anything like that in Minecraft. And they didn't touch the ground. It was kind of like that. If you can imagine the branches arcing out. And you kind of had to jump over it, but it wasn't this. It wasn't really that much in the way. I guess it was kind of like that. Maybe even like that. We'll call it like that. Now the other thing about this hill to the right, okay, now we're going to leave this here because I kind of like that, although I don't think that's authentic. This one definitely was not that close. So I think this is pretty good. And right here, there was definitely a big thing of rose bushes. Just growing wild here among the, right down the sort of base and the sewer pipe here. Yes, we were playing in the creek, which came from the sewers of our houses, and we loved it. Now, the thing that's missing is a bunch of tall grasses. So we're going to go ahead and hit this area with bone meal, and I will get back to my story in a moment. We're going to go ahead and pop a bunch of grasses in here. And then we're going to make a couple of vertical paths down the creek side of where we used to come down. I'll talk about that in a second. I will get back to Old Man River in a moment. And this was basically unpassable. This needs lots of good grasses here. High grasses, we didn't go over here. Although, there's some more stories about this area too. Okay, so now let's just check the top because it was mowed right along the top. Looks pretty good. There's a few kind of overhanging branches and trees. Excellent. Let's check the bottom. So now when you run along the path, yeah, you can see up there, but you got to kind of dodge in out the trees. Okay. So now right about here, oh, you know what? This tree needs to go, I think. Yes, it does. This tree needs to go. So let's do that. I'm facing negative x, negative z. So let's fill from my position. Whoops. Negative 2. Let's go up 30 and we'll do another negative 2 in this direction. Air. Okay. And we'll do it again here. Okay, good. And we'll do it again here. And here. And here. And here. All right, and then we'll do a couple quick little trims because we don't want to leave this wood just hanging out here. Looks kind of weird without any support to it. And then that may actually, it should reduce the overhang appropriately. You see how the biome changed when I went over here by the wood? Let's knock that out. And there must be a piece of wood. There it is. Up there, holding this together. I think that's okay. We don't want it to look squared off. This has to go. There we go. Okay. So now, as you can see, the way that I build is like, I'm building over here, but I'm constantly taking the reference angles from here to this house, from this line to this line. I'm constantly, focusing on the details of a small area, but in reference to a much larger area of build. And actually, this tree right here is perfectly awesome. That is a really good random thing that happened. Okay, so right here is a kickball field, which is kind of like a baseball diamond. Actually, it's about right here. And we used to kick our balls, and if you could kick the ball all the way over the creek, man, you were considered to be a rock star. And I was not good at kickball at all until suddenly in 6th grade, I could get the ball over the trees. Okay, Old Man River. We are way off topic, but this is important to get the build correct. So when you kick the ball out over this giant tree, sometimes you'd have to run down here to retrieve it. So there was a little bit of a path down here. Okay. And then over here, there were some other fields and things. And so sometimes people would go down right about here as well. So we'll just we'll leave the grass here. We'll just put in a hint of a trail where, we'll put in a little trail where somebody would come down. So Old Man River is a story when I think we only had a little bit of time. Like, I think my sister and my family and I were going somewhere, and my sister and I were like, hey, let's go play really quick and then we'll come back. So we went out here. I think it was like a Sunday or something. We went past the big rock. We crossed the creek that I already talked about. And we started going along this here. And my sister and Jeff were really young at this point, so I must not have been too young, maybe 8. And I started telling them the story of the Old Man River and how Old Man River was a ghost that haunted these trees. And if you heard the trees creaking, that means Old Man River was coming for you. And we got about, I would say we got about to here. And suddenly the wind, no joke, the wind came up like crazy, and all these trees started swaying and creaking. Creak, creak. And us as little kids look at each other and we're like, Old Man River's coming. And we start running along this corridor here. And you are racing, and the trees are shaking, and everything is blowing in the wind. And Old Man River's coming, and we ran all the way back here, and we crossed this creek, and we sprinted all the way back home as fast as we could. And we didn't feel safe until we got through the back gate and slammed that big wooden gate closed and went back home. It doesn't seem like, that much of a story. It was just kind of a moment, kind of a peek into one of the memories that just stands out in my head. And I don't know if my sister or Jeff would remember some of these stories, but I think by me being here in this world and running along, I mean, man, that is such a visual reminder of what it was like back then. And yeah, meant a lot to me. It's pretty cool. So now what I need to do is open this world in MC Edit, and I need to select this Old Man River section here, and I need to do a little bit of MC Edit cleanup. And we're going to do this by selecting all these trees, and we're just going to replace acacia wood . 162, it looks like. 162 in all subtypes. And we're going to replace it with oak wood, which should be 8? No, 10? I used to know all these numbers of blocks. 12, 18, I don't know. Let's just do this. 17. I used to know all these block numbers when I was first getting into Minecraft. Keep data intact. I think that will mean it will keep the angle of the wood, whether it's upright or downright. So anyway, we're getting rid of the gray wood, although I probably could have kept it, but we want to make it consistent. And actually, some of these trees were really dark wood, but that's okay. All right, now the next thing we want to do is even though I love the blue orchids, we need to get rid of the blue orchids. Blue orchids 38-1. And these we're going to replace. Let's see. Let's go down to 38. What kind of poppy or flowers, if any? Let's replace them with small ferns. And let's take a look and see how that looks. I wanted to use more small ferns up in this section, but I did not do it. And I'm okay with a few dandelions here and there, but I don't want any white flowers. I'm actually not seeing any ferns, which is fine, as I'm remembering this walk along the creek. And this was easy peasy, no issues jumping across this part of the creek in my memory. So I think I did that pretty well. All right, so now back here we do need to get rid of these guys. Dandelions are totally fine, but these other flowers are not. And the last thing we need to do is we need to put a weeping willow right over here. I think what I'm going to do... I was just going to copy a willow. Let's do... We actually need a rather large tree. So we're going to turn the random tick speed off for a moment. You know what? It's actually an oak tree. It's not as tall as And right here, this is going to be the corner of somebody's yard later. And let's see if we can get that thing to grow. Perfect. Perfect. Now we need some vines. And then Old Man River is mostly complete. This, we're going to have the backyards come along here and sort of build like a wall. And that further gives you the feeling that this is a really enclosed space and it's not open at this end. But we'll have to get to that next time. Let's get this going. This was a willow tree. And this tree actually had kind of a yellowishness to it. Because we used to break off these yellow willow strands and then strip the leaves off of them and use them as Indiana Jones whips when we used to play out here. Again, there's the Indiana Jones theme again for the game we used to play in this area here. And we used to do the same thing here. We'd make whips all the time. I actually like the way this looks with the mixed leaves. I think this Old Man River turned out pretty good from my memories. That's it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed just taking a little peek at where I grew up.